This is Joe Biden, the resident of the United States. During the third week of April 2024, Biden made several campaign stops across Pennsylvania, and the centerpiece of his remarks? The Biden administration's successful policies and a call to unify the country. Yeah, I'm kidding, of course. It was all about Republicans and the bad orange man.
Well, guess what? Donald Trump, the MAGA Republicans in Congress, Trump and his MAGA friends, Trump recently said, not a joke, on Trump watch, on Trump's watch, Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago, Trump, but guess what? Trump, guess what? When Trump was president, how does that make me feel? How does it make you feel? How does it make the people I grew up with feel? But guess what? But Trump's MAGA Republicans, but guess what? Mar-a-Lago. No, I'm not joking. Republicans. Why? Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago.
Wow, great stuff, huh? But unfortunately for the Biden campaign, Joe immediately did something stupid that overshadowed his visit to the Commonwealth. While in Scranton, he visited a war memorial that listed the name of his uncle, Ambrose Finnegan, who gave his life during World War II. But hours later, right before boarding Air Force One, Joe Biden spoke to members of the press about his uncle and how he supposedly perished during WW2.
Ambrose Finnegan, they called him Uncle Bosie, he was shot down. He was in the Army Air Corps before there was an Air Force. He got shot down in an area where there were a lot of cannibals at the time.
What?
They never recovered his body, but the government went back when I went down there and they checked and found parts of the plane and the like.
This whole story has a familiar energy, like when Elizabeth Warren told everyone that she was a Cherokee Indian because her father had high cheekbones. And there's literally zero proof that Joe Biden's Uncle Bosie was eaten by cannibals, but truth over facts, I guess. Anyway, 2.5 hours later, Joe Biden repeated the story at the United Steelworkers headquarters in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
When I left Scranton today, I wanted to go to the war memorial that has the names of all the Scrantonians who died in World War II etched into a granite wall, because I wanted to see where my Uncle Bosie Ambrose J. Finnegan, where his name was etched. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. And he got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
So Joe Biden's re-election team arranges for Joe to go out and campaign in a very important swing state. And Biden's strategy to win over voters?
There are a lot of cannibals for real.
So for clarity, the POW/MIA accounting agency tells a very, very different story about how Uncle Bosie lost his life in World War II. First, Uncle Bosie wasn't flying a single-engine plane at the time of his passing. He was a passenger on an A-20 Havoc. Second, according to the Pentagon, the A-20 Havoc he was flying on was not shot down. For unknown reasons, this plane was forced to ditch in the ocean off the north coast of New Guinea. Both engines failed at low altitude, and the aircraft's nose hit the water hard. 3 men failed to emerge from the sinking wreck and were lost in the crash. Again, to be clear, Joe Biden said that the plane was shot down in New Guinea, when in fact, it ditched in the ocean because of engine failure. One crew member survived and was rescued by a passing barge. An aerial search the next day found no trace of the missing aircraft or the lost crew members. So unless these so-called cannibals lived under the sea, Uncle Bosie was not eaten to death. Now, when Biden's press secretary/historical figure was asked why Joe Biden would tell such a tall tale, Karine Jean-Pierre didn't have a good response.
Look, you saw the president. He was incredibly proud of his uncle's service in uniform. You saw him at the war memorial. It was incredibly emotional and important to him. The president highlighted his uncle's story as he made the case for honoring our sacred commitment to equip those we send to war and to take care of them and their families when they come home.
But in reality, Joe Biden brought up his uncle's death for one reason, and one reason only: to attack Donald Trump.
As I was doing that today, I was reminded of what my opponent said in Paris not too long ago. They asked him to go visit American grave sites. He said no, he wouldn't do it because they were all suckers and losers. I'm not making that up.
But actually, he is making it up. On my channel is this important video completely debunking the losers and suckers lie. Since Joe Biden can't run on 3.5 years of failures, he's just gonna lie about Donald Trump, with no fear of the mainstream media calling him out on it.
Suckers and losers. That man doesn't deserve to have been the commander-in-chief for my son, my uncle.
So the utter incompetent who got 13 service members killed and couldn't stop checking his watch during their dignified transfer believes that he's totally deserving of being commander-in-chief. Get real.
And as he reiterated that the last thing American veterans are suckers or losers, and he wanted to make that clear. He wanted to make
the story.
I mean, look, I don't have anything beyond about what I just laid out.
You heard that, right? The reporter from the Associated Press, knowing full well that Joe Biden was lying, was like, why is he embellishing the story? And Karine Jean-Pierre is like, I have nothing else to say about it. And when Zeke Miller reported on the incident, he wrote, President Biden on Wednesday misstated key details about his uncle's death. Joe Biden didn't misstate anything. He f***ing lied. Instead of being an actual reporter, Zeke Miller would rather run cover for the resident. Oh, he was off into details. It happens to everyone. But thankfully, we have some legitimate reporters in the White House briefing room, like Peter Doocy from Fox News, who attempted to get Karine Jean-Pierre to give an actual answer.
Why is President Biden saying that his uncle Bozy was eaten by cannibals?
So, I answered this question yesterday.
No, she didn't.
Why is President Biden saying he was shot down, there's no evidence of that, and why is he saying that his uncle was eaten by cannibals? That is a bad way to go.
He lost his life. It's not, look, I'm not, we should not make jokes about
It's
this.
not.
Wait.
President Biden said that his uncle was eaten by cannibals.
I mean, your last line, it's for a laugh. It's for a funny statement. And he takes this very seriously. His uncle, who served and protected this country, lost his life serving. And that should matter.
So the White House's strategy is to attack reporters for asking legitimate questions instead of, answering legitimate questions. A couple of days later, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea responded to Biden. And when reporting on it, outlets like the New York Times stopped short of calling Joe Biden a liar. Twice last week, President Biden suggested, without evidence, that his uncle had been eaten by cannibals there. Suggested, huh? Biden literally said they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals, for real, in that part of New Guinea. That is not suggesting, that is overtly blaming. Anyway, in a statement to the Associated Press and Reuters, Prime Minister Marape of Papua New Guinea said, President Biden's remarks may have been a slip of the tongue. However, my country does not deserve to be labeled as such. Look, I get that the Prime Minister was trying to be diplomatic, but slip of the tongue? Really? Man, if you can't stand up to Joe Biden of all people, well, that makes you look like a coward. Anyway, let's wrap this up. No matter what the White House says, when Joe Biden, the current commander-in-chief, lies about how his uncle died, it's not honoring his memory in any way. Or maybe he thinks that by saying that his uncle's death was by main course, that voters will somehow relate to it or something, I don't know. Anyway, on that note, that's it for now, I guess. Follow me on X at Don't Walk Run, and while you're at it, please subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is next time.